Welcome to another video from Trolsty's Chapters. Today we are going to see if I can talk about 5 books in 5 minutes. Probably not, but I am doing 2 things to try to help me with this. I'm standing up and I've got a timer over here. So I wanted to talk about the 5 top books in 2025. And these, I want to just explain how I chose them. They're the books that I remember when I think back on 2025, and they may not be the most well written. They do have to be well written, and the quality has to be good for them to even be considered to be on the list. But I've ranked them in order from my, not least favorite, but just from 5 to 1. So 1 is my most favorite, and then going down from there. Number 5 is very well written. If I were just going on quality, it would be number 1. But again, I'm focusing on my experience reading them and how much I enjoyed them. And so that's why the ranking may be a little bit different than you would have expected. And if you hang around to the end, I will tell you why I'm doing it that way and why I felt the need to say that. Also, you may have noticed I'm wearing a bookish sweatshirt. This is one of my sweatshirts that I have in my shop, and this week only, so this is coming out Friday, which is actually my birthday. This is coming out Friday, and through Tuesday at midnight, we're running a sale. If you use the code WINTER26, you get 26% off on this sweatshirt. So if you're interested, I've got the link in the description to my website and you can check it out. Okay, I'm gonna start the timer now, and I'm a little bit nervous, but here we go. And by the way, I only have 2 of these. Most of the books that I read from my library, and so I'll try to put a picture of those that I don't have on the screen. But I'm starting the timer now. Coming in at number 5 is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Who's surprised? I loved this one so much. I'm going to do a full video with spoilers later this month, or maybe in February. But it was published in 1847. It's a Gothic romance, coming of age, and I loved so many things about it. I'm already 30 seconds in. Oh my goodness. I loved in the beginning seeing her childhood through an adult's perspective. Like, it was just really interesting to think about things that children go through, but from an adult's perspective. And then, of course, I loved watching her grow up and learn how to kind of temper her passion for justice. And it was a very, very enjoyable read. It was sad at times, a lot of times, but in the end, it was very worthwhile. I will say I was very surprised after I finished it to read that there are different reviews that said that they weren't sure that Charlotte Bronte was a Christian. She was the daughter of a clergyman. And so going into this book, I just read it from, okay, she's a Christian. That was my mindset. And I've already spent too much time on this one. Oh my goodness. But there was a lot of scripture. And then to me, one of my biggest takeaways was God's providence. That's one of the main themes that I got from this. So she was critical of religion, but it wasn't, I guess it was kind of negative, but to me, I thought she pulled it off well, and she pointed out some hypocrisy that we see in the church. So I didn't see anything wrong with that. I guess we'll never really know, but that is number 5. 4 is Daughters of Shandong by Eva J. Chung. Yeah, I had to be sure I got that right. This is historical fiction. It is set in China in the late 1940s, and so it's when Mao Zedong comes to power. This one is not something that I can wholeheartedly recommend, so I'm going to give some caveats. I lived in China. God gave me a heart for China when I was 6 years old. I'd always wanted to go there. I've been there 6 times, and I'm very interested in Chinese history. So I've read a lot of books about Chinese history, some fiction, some not. So that was the main reason why I picked this book up. It is clean. I'm going to say clean-ish. There are a few situations where there's language, but it's situational, if you know what I mean. I don't like bad language. I think there might have been 1 or 2 or maybe 2 or 3 bad words, and they were used in situations where it was very realistic that someone would be saying a bad word. This was a very heavy read. There was a family, it follows a family, and the family goes through a lot of hardship. And it is kind of centered around a girl. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even realize it's centered around a girl who is probably 11 or 12 at the beginning, and we kind of follow her. So it's also coming of age. But yes, I really appreciated the resilience that the characters showed, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I know that not everybody will. So please be cautious if you are interested in picking up this book. I only have 2 minutes left. Number 3, Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. I cannot believe that I put a rom-com on here. This was the first rom-com I ever read. It was simple, clean, fun. I was able to read it around my 1-year-old without getting confused. You follow Savannah, who works in one type of publishing house, but she has secretly written her own book in a totally different genre. And I related to her on different levels because she had some hesitations about sharing her work and getting feedback. And I've blogged for years, and it's kind of hard to put yourself out there and then share your writing. Oh, I have one more minute. I loved being like inside the publishing house. That was really cool. And yeah, okay, I've got 50 seconds. Number 2 was Fervent. Let me pick it up. By Priscilla Shirer. I've already talked about this in my last video, so you can hear more about it there, but it was so practical. The author was passionate, relatable, encouraging, and yeah, I was just able to walk away with a lot of tips, and it really was the book that impacted my daily life and my prayer life. 30 seconds for my favorite book from 2025. Oh my goodness. All the Lost Places by Amanda Dykes. Oh my goodness. I have a whole video on this one too. Y'all, it broke me. It broke me to pieces, but in the best way. I loved it so much. So it is also historical fiction. I'm an historical fiction girly. There are 2 timelines, so double timelines, and we get the male POV in both of those, which is so unique, and I absolutely love that. Both of them have timeless romances. Okay, my timer's going off. But this isn't too bad. I'm not going to talk much longer. And it's a story of redemption and hope. Okay, I'm going to say that I basically did that because that was just like 2 seconds after I finished the timer, and I had to like bend down and pick up a book. So I'm going to say that I did that. 5 minutes, 5 books in 5 minutes. And if you made it to the end and you're curious why I gave the disclaimer earlier about like how I made this list, I taught first year composition for years, and then I've taught ESL for years as well. And so when you're a teacher, you cannot let your opinion come across in your grading. You have to stick to the rubric, and you have to see really, did they answer the prompt? And so, you know, I would have students write essays that were pretty well written, but that I totally disagreed with. And of course, still give them an A, because if they answer the prompt, it's well written, and they follow the rubric, they deserve an A, and that's the right thing to do. But for this, and so I had a hard time whenever I was narrowing down this list, because I read The Great Gatsby last year. And of course, like, if that was one of the books that came to the short list, I guess. And of course, if you're just grading on writing alone, or just making the list on writing alone, like that definitely needs to be on the list. And then like Jane Eyre should not have been 5th on the list if we're just doing on quality of writing. So I decided, you know what, that I'm not going about this in the right way. I'm going to do the ones that were actually my favorite and that I really enjoyed and had a great experience doing. And that's why Meet Me in the Margins came on this list, because I had the best time reading that. Like, it was so much fun. I read it at the end of the summer, and I remember reading that and being like, I didn't know books could be like this. So it kind of opened up a whole new world or a whole new genre for me that I just was unaware of. So anyway, that is how I made the list, and that's why I felt the need to explain how I made the list. It may have been obvious. Maybe that's how everybody does their list. It probably is, because, you know, most people who are talking about books online are probably not teachers, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll come back next week for another video. And until then, let me know in the comments, which book are you reading right now that makes you want to read just one more chapter? See you next time.